Yo, Mana Squad, if you like any of the cards you see in today's video, make sure to hit up the affiliate link down below to TCG Player. You can help look up some of your local game stores in the process and help show the channel some love. And you know you got to look good while you play in order to play good. So make sure you hit up our link to Into the AM as well. We have the discount code down in the description below. Look, you got to listen to Kenneth the Heathen, and he always says something about dripping in space and screaming. We don't know what it means, but do what the man says. And last but not least, hit up Heavy Play. Heavy Play is going to have some of the nicest playmats and deck boxes out there. Their magnet system between their deck box and dice trays and playmat is amazing, especially if you're playing at like bars, restaurants, stuff like that. You got to get up and move. There is no better way to keep all your stuff together, and you can show the channel some love in the process. Stay petty.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Command Center, where we like to put our favorite commander, maybe even yours, front and center. And you know we can't do it unless we play those three egregious letters, EDH. Apparently, Hadoken is not here today, but he did send this this note with the EDH. Apparently, it stands for every deck hates ... these. Every deck hates these. Okay, yeah, same thing we say every week. Yeah. Apparently, I guess we're going to talk about some cards that that when it comes up, everyone just hates to see these cards. Like, we are going to talk about possible unbans or potential unbans to come. So, Derek, let us know how we're going to jump into this.
Yeah, so we did our part one of brackets and everything last week, where you kind of got all three of our thoughts on the bracket system, game changers, how it works. But they did mention also that at some point, I believe they said in April, that they're looking to do a batch of potential unbans to the list. Now, we don't know what this means exactly for the ban list. We don't know if these will come off to the game changers list. If they go to the game changers list, or other cards coming off. We really don't know any of the details yet, just that things will happen. So what we wanted to do, especially while Ken was gone, because look, if we talk about bans and unbans while Ken's here, I'm almost afraid to know his thoughts. And like we both love Ken, and I feel like knowing
he's a primetime advocate, right? Like he's a
yes, that and a lot of things. Yeah. The conversation would not go well. But no, Ken is out venturing the world. Something about got to catch them all, and he wants to be the very best. We don't know the specifics, but yeah, I'm hoping it's going well.
Supposed to be going 80 miles an hour in his Millennium Falcon or something like that. His letters are kind of weird. I don't know why he keeps sending letters. We have text messages.
Who still sends? Yeah, who still sends letters?
Anyway,
but he does. Anyway. Yeah. So we'll get into kind of to break it down. I wanted to talk first about potential unbans, get into what we might want to see added to the game changers list, and then kind of close it out, because it wasn't something we focused on a lot in the episode, but I haven't heard a lot of focus on like the philosophy part of this whole bracket system and some of the smaller things that they've mentioned being with the brackets that aren't about game changers and aren't about bans and unbans, but more subtle things. So I want to get into that too. But yes, let's start with the ban list. And I want to get, we're not going to, similar to last one, like reading the entire ban list does nothing. There's a million cards. The Commander ban list is quite long, but I'm going to go down the ban list, and I figured just call out some of the ones that I've seen most talked about as like, okay, this has a shot to get unbanned. Some of these like Ancestral Recall, Channel, like there's just certain things that just like the Moxen, they're not getting unbanned. There's no reason to sit here and discuss like, oh gosh, Tolarian Academy. There's just certain cards that are there for a reason and are not leaving. But there are other ones I wanted to get into more detail for. So I think let's talk about the most recent ban announcement, the one that really started so much of the chaos, and see if we think any of those, because that was the whole Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt thing. Do either of us think that one of those three should be taken off the ban list, or that it will be? Either way, I want to throw it to you first.
I think from the very beginning, I was a proponent of sure, fast mana, we can do away with it. Dockside was always questionable to me. It was a card that I always just personally avoided, so we don't have to rehash all of those particular like feelings towards those cards necessarily, but I don't necessarily think that any of those three cards would be unbanned anytime soon. I think it just sends a very weird message pretty much to the player base, and there's just too much to get behind that. So I think that would be the first reason not to unban them. But I think I was always just of the three fast manas, I was always fine with Jewel Lotus just because it was restricted to, the color of your commander. You can only choose one color as well. So it's Jewel Lotus was the more restrictive of the fast manas that I saw to an extent. I still don't think any of them are going to get unbanned, but don't have to rehash all of that.
No, for sure. I 100% in agreement. I think it's one of those deals. It's like you already everybody's seen 40-year-old virgin, like the waxing scene. Like you've already done the waxing and ripped everything off. Why do we want to go implant the hairs right back in? It just feels like it's an unnecessarily painful process after what we just went through. So I'm hoping that is something that is not touched with a 10-foot pole. But let's get into some of the more weird ones that I think are more common. And again, maybe I'm going to pick like 5 or 6. One, Biorhythm. I've heard Biorhythm mentioned since I started playing Commander as a card that was constantly called out. And Biorhythm is an 8-mana sorcery. I believe it's 8 mana. Double check that. But it's a sorcery that says everyone's life total becomes... Yeah. Everyone's life total, number of creatures they control. I'll throw it to you first. Do you have any strong feelings on this? Do you care if it's off, care if it's there?
So the cards I'm specifically going to mostly probably talk about on the ban list are cards that I personally had bought when I first started playing Magic, because I was going through binders, going through boxes at the LGS, and a whole wall of cards, and just stumbling and bumbling across everything. Biorhythm was definitely one of those cards I came across. I just thought, hey, great effect, seems very fair. What do I know? Come to find out, it was banned. Sure. I've always personally have been fine with Biorhythm, especially since I know people sometimes compare it to the new creature version of the card.
Oh, Shaman of Forgotten Ways.
Shaman is fair. I think Biorhythm is just as fair, even though Shaman is a little bit more telegraphed. But I don't think it's gonna get unbanned, even though I think it would be a good candidate to unban. I don't think it's gonna be too problematic going forward.
No, I agree. And the funniest thing is, I think for so many of these cards that get brought up, I wouldn't say all of them, but a majority of them, they give me the Worldfire vibes in the sense of, if they get unbanned, no one's going to play them. Like, so you might see a Biorhythm first week it's unbanned. Someone's been waiting their whole Commander to career to play this card. They're so excited. They're going to do it once. Everyone's going to kind of look at them like, okay, can we not do that again? And that's it. Like, that's what so many of these banned cards are, is just like, they're not, I don't want to say they're not interesting, but they just don't bring anything to the format that's like, it's just like a weird, the game ends in a draw, the game ends out of nowhere. Like, it just doesn't do anything. It's just kind of like, yeah. So I'm no strong feelings. I think unbanning Biorhythm does nothing good for the format. It doesn't bring any new life or anything, but it's also like, if they unban it, there is 0% chance I'm going to be like, you run Biorhythm, you monster? No, I think you're going to do it a couple times and then realize, well, that just wasn't fun. Someone, bounced all creatures in response, did something, and now it's just a tie.
So for me, I think, like I say, the card is fair because there's actually other cards besides Shaman of Forgotten Ways that are kind of similar to this card. In black, 5 and 2 black, the 7-drop sorcery, repay in kind. Each player's life total becomes the lowest type life total among all players. Okay. Granted, we can talk about various scenarios where these cards, how these cards differ, but at the base level, these are kind of the same card. Like a board wipe, all players' life totals become 0. Somebody's at 1 life or 10 life or below, effectively the same thing. The game is about over. So it's a variation between almost over and just over. So take your pick. So that's why I think the card on its face is kind of fair, especially at the value of 8, even though it is in green. Repay in kind is in the format. Shaman of Forgotten Ways is in the format. Everything's fine.
Yeah. I 1,000% agree. I mean, one of our good friends plays a deck that runs Heartless Hitotsugo with damage doublers and just ends games and draws already. Like, there's so many ways available to do something like this already in Commander that might even be more efficient. Yeah, I just, again, if they unban it, am I ever going to play it? Probably not. It doesn't seem like it does anything exciting, but it's not hurting the format being there. And I do think this is better just regulated through like vibes of format rather than having it on a ban list. Because if I was a new player reading this, I'd be confused as to why it's there versus like it's literally sitting between, for context, because it's alphabetical, the list I'm looking at, it's sitting between Balance and Black Lotus. And those are just two cards that just does not feel like are on the same like page as that. I'll move down to some other cards that get brought up as far as for potential ones. And this one's almost the exact same situation, Coalition Victory. This is the one I've heard the single most for potential unbans, which is 3, then Wooburg. So also 8 mana. Seems like that's a popular mana value here. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color, which in today's Commander with triomes and everything is about the easiest thing possible to pull off in a 5-color deck. The only challenge with this card is getting to the 8 mana of the colors, basically.
Are triomes considered basic lands? I don't believe so, right? Or do they still consider the basic land type?
Yeah, so it just asks for basic land types. You don't need the basic lands for it. So if you have, effectively, you can have 2 triomes, find a way to get this cast. Your commander is going to be the 5 colors, which I think why it was initially banned in the format, because you always have access to that 5-color creature, and then bam, you win the game.
True.
This just feels like Biorhythm with different font.
well, this is a you win the game instead of everyone loses the game. Yeah, I think because it's so one-sided, I definitely wouldn't want to see this one unbanned. I think a lot of the unbans, like the Worldfire, is more spread out across the table. So I think one-sided victories, we're not gonna really see those.
Yeah, I mean it is relatively easy to like. So for example, if you have your 5-color commander out, you cast this, you have all your basic lands, I could just Pongify your commander and it fizzles. So it's also like you have a lot of, I guess a blue spell wasn't the best example because you could just counter it, but like a Beast Within, Swords, you have a million different things to stop this, so it's very interactable. But I stand by my first point, it just doesn't bring anything fun. So I actually do think this will be unbanned, but I also think it's a spell that you'll cast once and then be like, well, that wasn't very fun, and then never cast it again. Like it just very strong Worldfire vibes.
Yeah, I mean, I just got to say, I just think they're moving away from the one-sided victories overall. We still have some left in the format. We got stuff like Felidar Sovereign that says that this thing has Vigilance and Lifelink. First of all, it's a 6-drop, 4 and 2 white, 4/6 body. Like I said, Vigilance and Lifelink. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. I thought it was 50. It's just 40 or more life. You win the game. This thing has not left the format in all the years that it's been here. And I thought that this was definitely one of those contenders to kick the dust or kick the bucket at some point. But, I think pretty much everyone understands, or you play it where you play at a certain level, where it be CEDH maybe. I don't see it in casual tables anymore. It's definitely been a long time, been a long while.
No, I agree. And I think that's the weird part is for some of these, I just don't know where their home is I don't think they're strong enough to be useful in a CEDH environment or like a very, very high power environment. And I just don't think they have a home in more casual games. I don't know who's going to be excited to lose to a Coalition Victory in like a 2 or 3 games. So I think unbanning them's fine because I think these will self-regulate. Having them explicitly called out in a ban list, it just, again, looking at this one, the cards around it, you have it's on top of his Channel and Chaos Orb with Dockside and Emrakul the Aeon's Torn below it. And it just feels weird that it's mixed in with those. I want to talk about one that I know you have a soft spot for, and that's Iona Shield of Emeria.
Okay, yeah, I do have a soft spot for Iona. I have hated out some players, hated out some colors here or there back in my day. I probably cast a spell, probably got it out maybe 2 or 3 times in a span of time that I've had the card. Probably hard casted it once, cheated it out the others. Yeah, this thing is a beast to get out. First of all, in these days, I guess of Commander, I guess it's a lot easier to cheat out big things, no matter the color. So I can see this not bringing the fun to Commander. I think it's fine where it is being banned. I am sad that it is banned. It's just way too many good strategies as far as like whether it be monocolor decks or even dual color decks. Hating one of those colors out, it just becomes no fun for anyone at the table. I think Painter Servant was the other half of the combo to this at one point. That ended up getting unbanned, but I think that was the safer of the two coming back into the format. So I'm fine with where things stand.
Strong agree. I think monocolored and two-color decks have gotten pushed harder and harder in the format, and just because there's more pieces to play them. Back in the day, it felt like monocolored decks were just awful. It didn't matter what monocolor you were playing. You were at such a big disadvantage that Iona was just kind of like a cherry on top. Versus, like, there's a lot of single-color decks and a lot of two-color decks that heavily lean one color. And again, I just don't know what it brings outside of a 9-mana stacks piece that tells one particular player, you wish you didn't come tonight. Like, why did you even think? You thought you were playing Commander? Well, joke's on you. You're watching me play Commander.
I like Iona only because it brings another factor of it's bringing that color aspect to the game, whereas it's something that you don't always get to interact with Commander unless you're just talking about protection from or something like that. So I've always wanted to build like either a color change or like a colors matter type Commander deck, and I know that there's probably like just enough cards to make some I think you said some smattering of a deck. Some semblance of a deck, cohesive deck. I've built somewhat of a version back in my day using the Esper Dragon Dromar, the bouncer, the club bouncer. That was the closest I can do to a color change deck, and it's it did its thing for an Esper deck without much ramp. But again, this was Commander back in the day. I'm actually curious if I can go back to that. But yeah, I'm sad to see a color color aficionado card get out of the format because it is too strong of the types of other color changing and color effective cards out there. But it is what it is. I would like to see like another version of Iona coming back into the format that does something not as strong but something similar. Like, can give us that, please?
Yeah. No, it's funny because color hosers used to be such a huge thing back in the day. Like early Magic, that was massive. I mean, they even got to the point where they had set hosers. Like there were cards that was like destroy all cards from Arabian Nights, and like,
hey, it's like, hey, that person got money, destroy that deck. It's the Weevil Underwood of Commander.
Weevil Underwood Ash. So no, it's literally like, that was one of the more interesting things. I love listening to like old set reviews and things like that kind of go over those sets, and it's so funny hearing about some of those cards because in their mind, somebody's just gonna buy a box of like Arabian Nights, whatever it was, and somebody's gonna buy a box of like whatever the Homelands, I don't know whatever sets were in that Antiquities, and just be like, bam, we're gonna go to war against each other. And then that was the thought process. It wasn't so much that you
sucker.
It was a wild time, but it does.
I would have loved to have been around those. That was the most Yu-Gi-Oh. That was like so Battle City, like
it really it so was. And I love listening to there's a podcast specifically called the Receivables with Patrick O'Sullivan and Cedric Phillips. By the way, I'm not talking to Cedric Phillips for anybody out there that has been tricked or confused, considering how many times we've had to deal with various, but it is wonderful. Like one of my favorite podcasts to listen to, and they go over them having such like a deep history with the game and being around for a lot of those earlier sets. Just go into every set card by card effectively, talk about all the cycles, all the things, and getting to listen to some of those, like you said, it was some Yu-Gi-Oh ass times. Like as someone who wasn't playing at the time, getting to like just have a deep dive into that is one of my favorite things ever. So definitely, like if you want to hear how Yu-Gi-Oh it was, check that because it's wonderful. Okay. Next on the list, we don't have too many more. It's just a couple more. One, I didn't even know this card existed. When I read it, I couldn't believe it was on the ban list. It is, and I guess I get why, it's Panoptic Mirror. This is a 5-mana artifact. You can imprint for X and then tap it. You can remove an instant or sorcery card with mana value X in your hand from the game. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you copy the imprinted card. So effectively, if you have like a time stretch or something, for 5 mana, you play this. For 10 mana, you imprint it. And then every turn, you get a time stretch, which effectively goes infinite. And that's the exact reason why it was banned, was because you get an extra turn spell under this, and then you just have every turn. You never have to take another turn again. So this is one that I think people are like, well, at that point, you're spending 10, 15, whatever, however much mana to win the game. And it's effectively a 2-card combo because you need the Panoptic Mirror with an extra turn spell and the 10 to 15 mana. For me, that doesn't change anything. I don't think this brings anything exciting because of the easy abuse with extra turns. This is a card that is back from Darksteel. I don't know if this was something that you had any feelings about, or if you're kind of just on the same page of it's good where it is.
Ironically, yeah, also strikes a chord. See, back when I got into Magic, this was one of those cards I picked up, saw it in the bin. I was like, man, this seems similar to the other spell that I picked up, another equipment called Spellbinder. Equipment for 3 and equip cost for 4. Enters battlefield, imprint, comes into play, remove an instant card from your hand from the game. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may copy the imprinted instant card and play the copy without playing its mana cost. So that was legal at the time. I was like, oh man, you can kind of do that with instants and sorceries. Let me scoop this up. Played it at a table. They had to break the news to me. I was like, I didn't even know about extra turns. I was just trying to hit you with a fireball twice.
and that's, I think, the exact thing about it that hurts my soul is it feels like at its heart this could be such a fun card, but the existence of extra turn spells just immediately basically says this card can never exist unless every extra turn spell was banned, because of the fact that it just doesn't. It's basically like it can be used for interesting things, but it never will be. It's always going to be used for the exact same thing. It's like basically trying to say you're going to use Armageddon for a fun, interesting reason. It's like, no, you want to play Armageddon to either win the game or just have everyone salt scooped. You're not doing some sort of weird mass land ETB something. No, you're just trying to make everyone rage quit. So it feels like, unfortunately, Panoptic Mirror has to stay where it is, but the little part of me is sad.
All right, so kind of in a similar vein, not more so Panoptic Mirror, but more so just I'm going to wreck everybody's world and effectively start the game over. World Slayer. This is an equipment for 5, cost 5, and also equip cost 5. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy all permanents other than World Slayer. So effectively resets the game.
Oh gosh, that's the crazy thing. There's so many effects like that. And that's where it's just like, anytime I look at ban list cards that are there for the reason of just immediate game ending or things like that, my first thought process is like, it doesn't need to be there just because there's so many cards that immediately end games or cause draws or just reset things. Like, yeah. So I'm kind of with you where I feel like a lot of the ones we've discussed fit into that, where it's just like, I mean, yeah, it's problematic, but it's not like, if you notice the ones that we've skipped, for example, that were no-brainers, stuff like Caracas, stuff like Golos, which nobody ever wants to see again, stuff like Dockside, stuff like Braids. None of those win you the game outright on the spot. Most times the problem is they do win you the game, you just don't know it yet. They don't end the game, they just cause such a disadvantage that everyone's miserable. And I think in most cases I'm way more okay with a game just ending and having to shuffle back up than a card coming in and effectively ending in the game without doing it and giving one player such a ridiculous advantage. You have to sit there and stare at them for the rest, knowing because of that card they already won. And so I'm with you, something like a Panoptic Mirror, if it's basically just, the problem is it just end games, you know what, who cares? How is it different from Biorhythm in that point? How is it different from Coalition Victory or World Slayer or anything like that? Like, it's just doing the same thing. You're spending a bunch of mana to basically say, I don't want to be here anymore, nobody else can either.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty much just either extends the game or just resets it. So we have enough cards already in there. Like Karn is still in the format, I think. Karn is still around. So there's this, Expropriate is already here. So I guess that's the closest thing I can probably compare to Panoptic Mirror at this point. So nobody wants to see it. It's going to get voted off the island, I think. So it doesn't have a chance of coming back. There's just no way. There's no fair way of doing a card.
So yeah, I'm with you. So many of these cards, it feels like that I keep hearing discussed are all in the same category of like, if it comes off, does it hurt the format? No, I just don't think they're going to be played. So maybe that's a good cleanup. Maybe a lot of these cards that are already so similar to other problematic cards we don't see, if they come off, they'll clean up the ban list, make it less cluttered, but also you won't have to deal with it. So I have one final card I want to like have a discussion about, and then I have a final list before we get into the game changers talk that I call the oh hell no list. That if any of these come off, we'll have discussion. So the last one I want to talk about, this should be on the oh hell no list, but I'm just going to have a discussion because I hear too many people doing it. Prime time.
Only reason I say prime time is probably not. Well, I don't know. I haven't heard anyone discuss this one because I went back and took a look at Sylvan Primordial just to see if that card got any more or less fair. Can't really.
We could jump. I was gonna say, let me read these two cards real quick because these are both in my mind equally problematic. So prime time, for anyone not familiar who wasn't around when this was legal or doesn't play any, is it Modern that has Amulet Titan? I think it's 4 and green for a 6/6 giant with trample. The important text is whenever it enters or attacks, you search your library for any 2 land cards and put them into play tapped, and then shuffle. That's a whole lot. Sylvan Primordial is kind of similar, again, resource imbalance for similar reasons why this was banned. With Sylvan Primordial's 5 green, so 7 mana for a 6/8 with reach. When it ETBs, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, you search your library for a forest card, not just a basic, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. The call outs on the ban site why these were banned are no surprise. 1, they cause huge resource imbalance. And 2, if every game becomes just completely centered around everyone trying to steal and copy the Primetime and the Sylvan Primordial. So do you pick which one you want to start with? Because I am actually eager to hear your thoughts because we haven't talked too much about the ban list really ever. Pick whichever one you want to go first on, and I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'll work backwards because I think Sylvan Primordial got banned afterwards. That one kind of caught me off surprise. I did not see that coming at all because I thought most of the Primordials were, for the most part, fair at the time. To my understanding of playing the game during that time, like I was definitely a card I was slinging. Like, hey, I need to see some stuff so I can get some land. I love the ramp unconventionally in green. I thought this was an unconventional ramp. I mean, it's doing things that other cards do, and I guess is that forest aspect, and like you said, the abusable, repeatable, clonable effect of Sylvan Primordial just turns into a nightmare. I mean, it's non-creature effects is what green does. I would have been more fair. I would have been more fine with Sylvan Primordial staying in the format as long as Primeval Titan stays off. Like, granted, one doesn't have to do with the other, but like, we got enough ramp already with the body.
Yeah. I think what the problem with Sylvan was or is, because it's funny because on the ban list website, it's talked about how some people thought of Primetime or Sylvan Primordial as a fixed Primetime. Like when they did the Primordial cycle, it was like, how can we fix the Titans? If Sylvan Primordial just added one single word and it said destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent that player controls, I think this card would be perfectly fine. I think the issue becomes, the fact that it ETBs, you blow up a land from everybody and you get 3 lands. And then that's if you're not cloning or flickering it. Already, you're blowing up a bunch of people's lands and then getting 3 yourself. And then, especially for them to make this push where so many levels of the format don't want to see mass land destruction, and I think everybody as a whole just doesn't want to see mass land destruction. To me, this is like mass land destruction disguised as a splashy spell. It's disguised as a fun spell, but it's just mass land destruction.
Man, I hate to see the world through like what the meanest, most ruthless, like most just uncouth EDH players will do with these decks, with these cards, because that's not how I come into the game. Like,
speaking of, we miss you, Ken. We really want you back. Please come back.
I guess that's why we keep Ken around, just to keep him grounded. Just like, oh, are those?
We need all perspectives.
Are those glasses rose colored? Let me stash those off. Yeah, I definitely agree. Both can stay off, but if it wasn't for that non-land aspect, or the fact you can target lands with the Sylvan, I would have liked to see it stay. I mean, I've seen broken stuff with the other Primordials. I've done stuff with the black one, Sepulchral Primordial. So as far as I'm concerned, that one could be banned. But hey, that's just me.
No, I do think both, for me, Primetime and Silver and Primordial are both in the same. It's like the double issue of, I think at a base level they're bannable. I don't think they bring anything fun to the format, nothing good. The other issue is, especially in casual tables, and I get it, these would be put on the game changers list, so you'd only see them at 3 and ups, whatever like that. But even then, green has such anything, especially in the 3s, green has such a big advantage. And it already I think it only had 2 or 3 cards in the game changers list, so there's basically no restrictions in green for the most part, outside of like Cradle, Vorinclex, and Food Chain or something like that. Like, or no, Survival, I think was what it was, whatever it is. Yeah. So green already has all these.
Yeah, I can see this if it comes off the ban list going over to the game changer list, definitely.
It would have to be, and I do I will make that. I do think that I don't think Sylvan Primordial will come off, just because it has so much land destruction built in. It just feels like a weird mixed message. I think Primetime is the most problematic card that I could see coming off in this announcement. I think of all the cards that I don't want to see unbanned, I think this is the one I could most potentially, like, wouldn't be surprised if it is. I think the issue is too many people have never played against a Primetime or haven't seen games revolve around a Primetime. If you ever want to look up an old Commander gameplay thing, see it in a game, you will have your mind opened to what a problem it is. In that it's so similar, and I get it's 6 mana, but it's so similar to Dockside, where every time it comes into play, the game stops, and it is literally just who can steal it, who can clone it, who can copy it. And the whole game then becomes who gets the most prime times, and that's the only thing that matters for the rest. Everything before that and after that doesn't matter. And I do think that's the signpost of a card that's too powerful. Not to mention, yeah, green doesn't need help. Look, I play green. I get it. It's past needing help. All right, real. Yeah. Well, so my last closing thoughts, and I think we both agree. Do we want anything unbanned? If we could pick, if we could vote, keep it the same or pick a explicit unban, how do we feel? I'm gonna just, spoiler alert, go first. Don't take any of this off. I mean, I know things are gonna get unbanned. It doesn't bring anything good to none of these bring anything good to the format at all. Like, if you're unbanning things, I think it's just to clean it up. That's the only logic I can see to unbans would be Coalition Victories, Biorhythm, some of these other cards that just won't get played. Let's clean this list up, make it look a little prettier so it's easier to follow. Outside of that, keep this shit away from me. But I'm curious your thoughts.
I can try to make a case, but we will be here all day. Trying to go back and forth and argue each other down. Like I could probably say like gifts ungiven, I think is fine. Sure. I don't know. Maybe like
it's another good example. Yeah. That's one we didn't talk about. Yeah.
I'll play it fair. 3 in a blue instant, search your library for up to 4 cards with different names, reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards, put the 2 chosen cards into your graveyard, the rest into your hand. So I think on its face, it sounds fair, but of course you can abuse it depending on the type of combos that you may have in your deck. But I think that's a very, not rare, but very limited case for how this card can be used in that way. So I'm fine with it coming off because I just want to search up some things and give you the option. Like, I like playing mind games. So, choose the worst of the worst. What goes in my graveyard? What goes in my hand? I don't know. Yeah.
And it is similar to I don't think it would happen in casual. I know in high power games, this is just if it resolves, the game ends. Because there are a lot of combinations of 4 cards that once they get there, the game ends immediately. So it is basically a 4 mana instant speed win the game. Or I guess the cards you get may not be instant speed, but it is effectively a 4 mana win the game. But again, if it's only relegated to like the highest power of tables, maybe they're cool with that and it could let you do some fun things. So I'm with you. This is not one I'd be super mad about, because if someone casts this in a casual game, they know what they're doing. There's nothing sneaky or funny about, I just 4 mana won the game combo. Like, no, that's not supposed to be in this 2 pod. But okay, let's get to these game changers, because so we're kind of on the same page. Game ban list. We're not sitting here yelling to rip everything off of it. Keep it. It was done very well over very many years. I don't think it needs to be changed much, and I really, fingers crossed, hope it does not get torn up. All right, so these game changers. We already talked about the game changes that exist. I just want to go through for each color and thing. It'll be a pretty quick exercise. We each pick a card for each category that we want added to this game changers list. Because the thing that stuck out, and maybe we're just like, I feel like I was an RA in college, and like my inner RA is coming out where I'm just a killer of all fun now. But like, I just want to add things. I don't want to take anything away. I want more bans, more game changers. I'm tired of seeing so many of these cards. So let's start with white, and then we'll go through white. well, we'll have the image up on the screen as we're talking about it with the existing ones with Janeth Magistrate, Sarah Sanctum, Smothering Tide, Trouble in Pairs, and Light and Tutor. If you can add one card to this Game Changers list in white, what would it be? We could also mention cards we want to take off, but I think based on our last video, we basically said we're good with these. None of these deserve to be off. These are all problematic. So if you can add a Game Changer to white, do you have anything off the top of your head you think should be added to that?
Yeah. This card definitely changed my life. Definitely increased my gameplay. Definitely made me the man that I am today. And I would not be here if it wasn't for land tax. I had always been a believer, but I had always just avoided playing white. And then when I had started playing white, I was like, I gotta get me one of those land tax cards. Got it opened up in the pack, cracked it open, slotted it in. Made me a believer.
I can't disagree. I don't know how. I guess there are a lot of ways to get lands into play with white, especially with other colors. If you get a land tax mixed with other, like a land tax exploration, but then I guess you're ahead on lands. Because that's the thing with land taxes, you have to have somebody with more lands with you than you for it to trigger. So it is definitely power for early game, but I do think it is somewhat held in check. But I have definitely seen it abused as well. My pick for white, the one card I was shocked wasn't on here, is Teferi's Protection. I was shocked that Teferi's Protection wasn't on the list. I just I think the first time I read it, I assumed it was there, and then my brain just auto-filled it. And then at some point, I saw it mentioned and realized it wasn't a game changer. So that's one for me that just feels like an easy. There's a lot of similar effects, but no equal effect. A Teferi's Protection being broken out in like I get it was in a precon, but like it being broken out in a precon game feels like a lot. So that would be my pick for white. Otherwise, all these cards need to stay where they are. As we go, you know what? I'm going to switch up the rules here. If you do see something on this list that you think shouldn't be, definitely call it out. Like if you see something that you're like, why in the world would they include this? Take it off. But I don't think that's the case for any of these. These all are problems and so many problems. Let's move on to blue. So blue, if you ever didn't think blue was a problematic color, it has the longest list ever. It's got Psych Rift, Expropriate, Force of Will, Fierce Guardianship. You got Rhystic Study, Thoracle, Urza, Mystical Tutor, Jingataxius. We've got a whole dictionary lineup for blue. If you could add anything or take away from the blue list of game changers, especially after we've seen how these have played out, where would you go with?
All right, so for me, I'm gonna have to pick a blue spell that I had for a long time, and I finally found a use case to play it recently. And I think I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this one because the way I used it was kind of grimy. But there was an enchantment called Pendril Mist for 3 and a blue. At the beginning, each creature gains during your upkeep pay 1 generic mana or sacrifice this creature. So it's basically a tax in a way, except you're deciding which creatures live, which creatures die, and how much mana you plan on using.
It's Tabernacle, and it's interesting because Tabernacle is on the list, but it's Tabernacle as an enchantment is literally what it is.
Yeah. And I was just like, there's some other spells that kind of do this too. Like I think there's a white one that says it hits artifacts. And I think there's another blue one that also hits enchantments. So like there's some spells out there that says like, going to put this tax on a specific permanent type. Really just creatures, artifacts, enchantments. Lands are safe for the most part. Planeswalkers are safe. The main big 3 permanents. So like there's some ways to like put some tax on these things that can really ruin like other people's strategies and tempo and whatnot. And so this is one of the cards I feel like is a disruptor, and it definitely warps the game around it once it's out. If that's the definition of a game changer that we're going for.
No, and I mean, I again, the functional equivalent of it as a land is on the list, so I can't really make an argument against that because the same effect's there. Obviously, a land's more powerful, but that is very much a Staxy effect. And the most interesting about that is most Stax effect were grouped in under mass land denial. So like you don't see like the Winter Orbs, Back to Basics, those types of things on this list because it's already grouped in under mass resource denial. That isn't, and it does kind of mirror that heavy Stax effect. So I think that is an interesting one. I think the only reason it might not be on there is because most people don't know it exists. I think it's one of those cards that if it was printed this year, maybe more people would play it. I think most people are just not aware of its existence. So you know what? We're going to cut that so nobody learns about it. And then we'll just pretend that there was a jump in audio so no one starts playing that card. All right, so my pick for blue, again, I was shocked. I assumed it was on there, was Force of Negation. I just assumed that Force of Negation was on there. If Force of Will was on it and Fierce Guardianship was, and it wasn't. And it's just like that. I mean, I get it. It has the downside of Force of Will in that you have to exile a card, and then also the downside of Fort Fierce Guardianship where it's only non-creatures, so it's kind of like a mix of the worst parts of both. But it's also just 3 mana, and it's a free counter spell. So it's just like, it's incredibly powerful. I get you have to cast it not on your turn, so it's not as good protection on like your turn. So if you're trying to combo off, you can't just like Force of Negation for free because it has to be on not on your turn. So there's things to keep it in check. But on the spirit of what's on this list, for example, I cut Force of Negation from decks I consider non-game changer decks because in the spirit of it, it just felt like it was. Yeah, that was a surprise for me. Now we're gonna move on to black. Black has some busted cards, not as long of a list, but we got Bolas' Citadel, Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, Op Agent, Turgid, Vampiric Tutor, and Ad Nauseam. Is there anything that you would take off of this list for black, or is there a card you think impact-wise actually should have been added on here?
So black is in a funny spot for me, only because you got your obvious what's the phrase? Your usual suspects, your obvious suspects, Turgid, of course, Opposition Agent, exactly where it should be. Bolas Citadel, you belong on there. Any of the tutors, well, the good tutors, the ones that instant speed and also like 1 or 2 mana. The ones I'm talking about.
All called out. Yeah, they got the Demonics, the Imperial Seal, the Vamp. They're all on there.
Yeah. Everything that's on here should be on there. Ad Nauseam is what's the first version of Bolas Citadel, so it's exactly where it should be. Honestly, if I were to add a card on a black card to the game changer list, I would be here all day because I feel like a lot of black cards to me feel one-sided and unfair. Like it's like when I play this spell, and this is how I use black. Like when I go for the black splashy spell, you have 1 turn after that. if I don't kill you that turn, like I'm talking, your life total is going to 10. Your some even some even number low life total. Like that's what I think of when I think of black. And like I said, we'll be here all day because you got the applications of life gain and life drain. You got the 2 card combos of the
Blood Bond.
Basically it's now a creature version and it's also the old enchantment version of it as well.
Yeah.
So take your pick. You got the sacrifice outlets,
Dictate of Erebos,
Dictate of Erebos. Yeah.
All those. No, I'm with you. I honestly think they did a great job of calling out the cream of the crop of like the top problematic cards. For me, the only other 2 I would consider would be the Dictate of Erebos effects. That was actually going to be my pick right there. Is Dictate, and I forgot the Grave Pact, the OG, like those 2. I think playing those in lower power pods feels wrong in a way. Like those were cards that were around back in the day, and I remember every time you played a black deck, you assumed someone was gonna just Dictate of Erebos your board away, but that's just not where we are now. So I think those 2 could be added. I think the only other card raw power level wise, if I had to pick, if you told me I couldn't pick Dictate, Meat Hook Massacre for me has won me so many games that I couldn't make an argument. If they put it on here, I couldn't make an argument to pull it off. I don't want it to be on there. I love my Meat Hook. I put it in more casual decks, but that is a very powerful card that wouldn't shock me for it to pop up. But no, I'm with you. They did a good job on black. There's a lot of going on, and they kind of picked that outside of Dictate, the cream of the crop of what's there. Red. Apparently no one likes red. All it got was Jeska's Will and Underworld Breach. Just red Jeska's Will, just Underworld overlooked. Breach. I mean, to be fair, is that rightfully so, or did they just say we love red too much? Don't put anything on here. Do you have anything off the top of your head in red that should be added to this list? Because this is a tough one.
Yeah, so back in the day, there was a card that used to just do a lot of damage to people when it came in. Kind of warped the game around it. This was a 6-drop enchantment, 5 in a red. I'm blanking on the name, but it'll be up on the screen because Shadows? People. No. People don't. That's a 7-drop, but also a game changer.
My bad.
But also,
I just love that. That is like peak 2017 Commander. That card makes me so unreasonably happy. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, you'll know the name of the card because I'm blanking on it because people stopped playing it because a better version of it came out when we got Terror of the Peak.
Oh, Warstorm Surge.
Warstorm Surge. Yes, yes, yes. Warstorm Surge used to ruin lives, used to ruin games back in the day, especially with spells like, Maelstrom, Maelstrom Wanderer, like just doing damage with it, like stuff just coming in from out of nowhere. Yeah. So Terror of the Peak is the new that. And I think people need to know that Terror of the Peak is a problem. I mean, people know it, but newer players need to know.
No, I mean that's a really good pick. I hadn't even thought of that because so much of what I think of, because cards I heard mentioned were like Perforos, a really powerful red card, Wheel of Fortune. But the problem is, like, yeah, those are the best red has to offer. But I think so much of what red does is as a complement color nowadays. Like, I don't think it is Breach and Jessica's will carry about as much like work as 20 cards from a different color. Those two cards are two of the most powerful cards in the format. So they got what their money's worth there. But like, I don't think Wheel of Fortune should be like, no, like it's I get it, it's old, it's expensive, but it's just a wheel. There's a million of those. Like, Terror of the Peaks is really powerful, but I don't think it's on like par with what you're seeing out of black and blue and white. It's for red, it's powerful. So yeah, so as with red, yeah, it's just a weird spot. I think the only card I could think of when I was thinking of like most powerful red cards I play was Mana Geyser.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But it's powerful, but I don't know if that's a game changer in a sense of, I can't remember, like I've seen Mana Geyser used in broken ways, but I've also seen that as like one of the most like battle cruiser magic cards I can think of. Like, that is very much like big dumb red decks that I love to play that. So yeah, it's weird.
I personally, you see me do Mana Geyser forever. I play it more than Jessica's Will. To me, it's better than Jessica's Will because I want to cast more spells. Rather than draw more cards and cast a limited number of spells with the red mana. So yeah, I'm definitely a believer. You don't have to convince me. It definitely belongs on a list. But I feel like if we're getting to the territory of like scaling red cards, like, of course, most spells, the higher the mana, the more powerful, more splashy the effect. So when you start getting into like stuff like Insurrection or like Mizzix's Mastery, like that's the cards I started thinking about with red that are like, it's not necessarily game changer, it's like game over. Like
yeah. Like, and it's interesting too, because I feel like if this list was made 5-6 years ago, Insurrection almost like got itself out of the format. Like, it is still a power. I just don't see it cast anymore because I think it was a big thing for a while and it just isn't. So weirdly enough, like, if I had to pick, I would say red doesn't need anything added. I think red, those are the two cards that needed to be called out. If I was forced to choose a third to add to this list, it would, I could see, I wouldn't be mad to see Terror of the Peaks there. Mana Geyser might be the best pick for a third one. But I wouldn't, my choice would be to leave it off. But if I had to pick, I think Mana Geyser is a really good third pick over things like Perforos, Wheel of Fortune, other really powerful red cards that I just don't think, they don't fit into the game changer category for me. Those are more enabler things that you're doing as opposed to taking over the game type things.
And could that just be a speak to the personality of red, like what red does in the format? Like, red is like a glass cannon type thing, so it's like one and done. Like, this is it, or it's over. Like,
no, I think it's a great point, because how many mono red decks do you know that are value engines that take 30-minute turns? I mean, that's just not red's personality, and it feels like so much of this game changer list are warping games, either causing really long turns, not letting your opponents play Magic, trying to basically make the game about you is effectively the problem with most of the cards in the game changers list. Is EDH is effectively, it's effectively D&D with cards. It's a social experience that you create a story with friends, and when you're the one that likes to hog the story, that's what a game, like, it sounds really like messed up to say, but that's kind of how I view game changers. Like, are you trying to take too much story time to yourself? You're probably playing a game changer. Like, that's what it feels like. And you're right, red is so glass cannon and explosive. Like, no, if you're playing powerful red cards in the D&D campaign setting, you're just like yelling out random one-liners and like being the hype man. You're not really, you're just like the hype man in the corner. You're not causing issues. So I'm with you there. All right, we got just a few left, and we could call it green. I'm gonna save green for last. We got some thoughts on green. I'm gonna pass green for now. We're gonna go to multicolor and colorless first. Multicolor is basically just used to call out commanders. We have Kinnan, Yuriko, Winota, and Grand Arbiter. This is a cool. I like this category being there. Problematic commanders you think are sneaking into casual games. do you have any single one you would add to this? Because this could be a 7-hour conversation by itself, because so much goes into these commanders. But if you had to call out one that's not here, just one single one, what would it be?
So many, I couldn't pick one. I got to be honest, I couldn't pick one. Because like the first one that came to my mind, it was like we were just talking about like commanders that warp themselves around them, like Nekuzar, the Mind Razor, like that's already a boogeyman of the format. Like just pick any of the top 100 cards, saltiest commanders or whatever. Like they're there because they warp the game around themselves. Like, you know, what's
right.
what's my nemesis?
Oh gosh. Which one?
Yeah, she just spits out angels, demons, and dragons. Like
Kalia.
Kalia. Yeah, like
no, and that's like, even as I was saying the word pick one, I couldn't, because I was about to, and then like 3 or 4 came to mind. I wanted to say Korvold, then I wanted to say Voja, but then I was like, but also Mirim, and it's just like, wait, I think I just named 3 decks that Owen, or one of our friends, likes to play that is not a shot in any way towards Owen's decks in any way. Those are the first 3 in my head. So yeah, there's just so many to pick. I do think I appreciate them calling out Grand Arbiter and Yuriko explicitly. I don't know what Winota and Kinnan are doing there. I thought those were only CEDH commanders. I've never seen those in a casual table. But it's cool. They're there. But Grand Arbiter and Yuriko, I've seen so many people want to play those casually. And it's just, Grand Arbiter not for years, but back in the day. And Yuriko is like, oh, I want to play ninjas. And it's like, no, you're just, so I'm going to save my 7-hour rant. There's a lot of cards that could be on there. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It would be impossible for them to make like a curated multicolor list. It's impossible.
I'm very baffled at why they even put multicolored on here, but they had to do it. So
yeah.
Because I mean, before we jump out, like in all seriousness, like Commander, like the game, like your deck is warped around your commander. Like, what are we doing here? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, like no, it 100% makes sense, because like especially things printed post whatever date, they're going to be issues. Like, they're going to be powerful cards that warp games. Like, it's just inherent within Commander. Like, it's just a thing. But I do appreciate ones that I think this should be a good place to call out cards that disguise themselves as casual. And Yuriko is the best example. I think Mirim is also a great example of cards that, like, it doesn't matter what you put in the deck. Big dragons, ninjas, people want to play that. People are going to get excited. You cannot go down to a precon level with those decks. It's impossible. They're too powerful the way they are. And I think that's what the multicolor, that's what I see this list calling out things is just like, look, I get it. You have a Yuriko deck and it's all your pet ninjas. It's going to pub stomp most decks inherently just because of the commander, versus like, you know, Winota Kinnan. I don't see anyone playing those mistakenly thinking they're casual. So that's what I could see this list being used as in the future. Obviously, this is a beta. I could see that being like a future use, just calling out. We're seeing a lot of X Commander in low power tables, pub stomping. Let's pull that out and call it out, like that type of deal.
Yeah. And before we jump off of this, the last one I'm going to call out just to be Grixis gang, Xander the Collector, Lord Xander the Collector.
Oh,
like,
yes.
If we talk about a card that warps around itself, come on, like all day. 7-drop, a 4 in Grixis. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand, rounded down. When he attacks, defending player mills half the cards in their library. And when he dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control, rounded down. Like, I've been debating whether even to play this card, let alone build it as a commander. Like, that's how grimy this card is. Like, so I definitely, while I said, this is why I have a hard time with this list.
There's so many. Yeah, this is one I don't envy them sitting in that meeting for this portion of it, because there's so many. All right, colorless. Before we circle to green, this one's a pretty quick one because I think they did a great job on this. They got Ancient Tomb, Chrome Mox, the One Ring, Tabernacle, Trinisphere, Grim Monolith, Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Diamond, Mana Vault, Glacial Chasm. I think these are good where they are. Like, they called out most of the fast mana. They called out some of the most busted lands that don't produce any of the sort of like colored mana. Did you have anyone that jumped out as like, oh, I'm surprised that's not there?
I'm not surprised that they went the like mana rocks. These for the most part just mana rocks, right? Glacial Chasm for the most is a I know it's a land, but it's
like a pseudo.
It doesn't tap for mana, I don't think.
Yeah, neither does Tabernacle. Tabernacle doesn't tap. Glacial Chasm doesn't tap.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to see a pattern here, but yeah, for me, when I was thinking about colorless, I was more so thinking about like creatures or like like a Blightsteel Colossus. That's a big boogeyman of the format that people just need to know about. Especially we're just talking about warping the format around it, and for newer players as well. Like you got to know about the Blightsteel Colossus. Got to know about Void Widower. Granted, these are large creature spells, but when they hit, they hit. Bunch of the Eldrazi fit this as well. So, yeah, the big artifacts, they're definitely worth it, but the lower costing ones, of course, I guess like for the most part, I was thinking most of these are going to focus on your mana ramp and acceleration. But I'm thinking about more so cards like when it's on the board, like everyone's trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear what you're saying. I appreciate what they used it for because I think they needed a way to call out specific fast mana and things. But I definitely hear what you're saying, where it's just like, well, what about just random artifacts? I think this is where they'd throw them if there were. Like I was thinking, like like a metal worker or different things like that are just like powerful artifacts, but like aren't necessarily in the realm of just like go in every deck type things. But having said that, was Blightsteel, was that your pick, or was there one specific card you might call out to get thrown onto this?
See, honestly, I had a funny one. Dark Depths.
Okay, don't take that from me. Don't you do it.
And I was I was thinking about Merit Ledge, and I was like, wait, but Merit Ledge is not a creature. Let me work backwards. Oh yeah, it comes from that butthole card, Dark Depths, that people use and abuse the not right way.
I can't even fight about it. I just love my Merit Ledge. Yeah. The only one I thought of, and I get why it's not. I was surprised Mox Opal wasn't on it. When I first saw it, I just assumed, again, looking at the list, I was like, yeah, Mox Opal's on there. I just mixed it in with everything else. And then I looked at it, I was like, Mox Opal's not on there. And that's the one where it doesn't tap for mana unless you control 3 or more artifacts. Then I like thought about it, and it makes a lot of sense because unless you're playing the other fast mana, Mox Opal is not that good. Like if you have to wait until turn 2 or turn 3 to get the extra mana, it doesn't do the same thing these other ones do. It doesn't shoot you out ahead unless you have other pieces. And I do play it in artifact decks, but when you don't have other fast mana, so many times it's more of like a sack outlet for a Goblin Welder or a thing like that than it is like a fast mana piece. So I don't disagree with the exclusion of it. I actually think it was smart to leave it off, but that was the only one when I read it that I was actually I was almost shocked to not see it on there. All right, so the finally last one is going to be green, and this is a whole. Green only has Survival of the Fittest, Vorinclex, and Cradle on there. Out of and I don't envy the position that the people putting this list together were in, because green has so many problematic things. It feels like for almost all the other colors, it was easy to call things out. There were some very clear problems. The issue with green is the problem in the casual setting are lands, just having so many lands. And how the hell do you call that out? And there's no easy or good way to do it. But I was shocked. I mean, green in casual tables can be a boogeyman. Survival, Vorinclex, Cradle. What thoughts do you have as far as like things that could be called out, or can it be as far as individual cards that green has?
Yeah, green is in that weird case because it definitely brings up the discussion of green being one of the more powerful colors in the format in the game itself. And I honestly, I want us to talk about this probably in another episode, definitely not this episode, but like we're finding, these are things that we've already known, but they're definitely bearing to light with this new system, with these discussions that we're having and the way things are being placed, especially when we're talking about game changers. Like where's the hierarchy? Like what is at the top of the totem pole? What's at the bottom of the totem pole? Who's bringing, the artillery to the table, and like what cards are really stacking up? That's what the game changer list kind of presenting, and what is kind of going to make people kind of focus on. And green being that color of like, yeah, we can bring like the whole military, like we can bring everything. Like which side of us are you trying to cut out? Our draw power, our ramp power, our ability to just go grab a creature, 2 creatures. Yeah. Like which part of green are we trying to stop here? Or not stop. No. Which part of green are we trying to call out as being like, hey now?
And it's a great point, because I think that's the problem is green does so many things well. How do you call out their game changers? Like for me, there were some like ones that stuck out just as like base level things. So like the Great Henge, was one I was shocked to not see on there, just because the Great Henge is such a powerful ramp, draw card, get a discounted amount for it. Like, was almost shocked to not see it there. Things like Burgeoning, I was almost like shocked not to see on there, because it's 1 mana, effectively throw all of your lands into play immediately. So there are little things like that where I was just like, it feels like that could have been called out, especially I think the Burgeoning Explorations thing. Exploration might be a bit much because it's 1 extra, but like Burgeoning is effectively put all your lands in your hand into play every turn, every cycle of the table. You know, your Great Henge is effectively creatures start entering, you start drawing, you start going off. Like, those are the ones that stuck out to me. I was almost surprised. I was happy it wasn't there. I don't want it on there. I was surprised not to see like a Triumph of the Hordes or a Crater Hoof or things like that. There were none of the finishers that were on there. So yeah, this is the green is the one I'd be most interested. Like, we know a few of the people that are part of like the commander panel. I forgot the official name for it. We know a few of the people that are a part of it, and green is the one I would most love to like hear parts of the discussion, because I think this is by far the hardest category to category. I said it about multicolor before, but I think that was hard in the sense of like, it's hard to define what it's supposed to be. There's a lot of purposes for it. I think green is the most difficult because you have a color that can dominate low power games, but at the same time has no explicit, there is no like force of will running around. There is not a dockside running around. There's not the things like that. It's like entire identity that can make it hard to deal with. So
yeah. I would say, if I had to throw a card on there, I would one that caught my eye during MagicCon Chicago was Seaborn Muse.
Yes. Forget everything I said. Yes. Sorry. Keep going, but yes.
But yeah, that was just, if I had to pick one from the discussion, that was just one recently that just like, man, we got to get that off of the table because this is elevating. And the person didn't even have a Seaborn Muse. Did they have it originally in their deck? They may have just copied it or stole it from someone else, and it just elevated the entire game strategy of what they were doing. Yes. And yeah, I think they stole it from someone else, and it was just like, what? Why would you play that?
Yeah, literally forget every other pick I had. Seaborn Muse skyrockets. That is a card I refuse to even play it in decks. It is on. So we've talked about this before, but I have a level of cards that I just don't put in decks, and almost all of them ended up being game changers, like the Smothering Tides, the Rhystic Studies, those types of things. Seaborn Muse is one of the top cards in that category, right up there with Rhystic Study and Smothering Tide, that I refuse to put into decks, even in decks that synergize as well, because it feels that obnoxious. So yeah, 1000% agree. That's that card. I'm thinking about it. I'm almost shocked that is a whole problem.
Yeah, it's half a profit of crew fix. What are we doing?
Then that's how crazy profit is, man. You take half of it, and it is still one of the most impactful cards in the format. All right, so the closing thing here, because we've got a chance to we went over the ban list game changers. The last thing I want to talk about briefly was philosophy, and this was something that we didn't touch on a ton this specifically. But one of the things that's called out that I find super interesting with this whole thing is when they dive specifically into the idea of 2-card combos being a thing that is not allowed in like brackets 1 through 3. I think it's like limited in bracket 3. And what that basically is explicitly saying is like, yeah, 3, 4, 5-card combos, that's just fine. And the reason I find that interesting is because the mindset and the vibe that I get from most casual commander tables is if anyone combos in any way, they're the bad guy. That's not allowed. Why are you doing that at our table? And I'm not gonna lie, most times I feel that way. Like, I don't want just a combo out of nowhere ending this game when that's not the expectation. But as someone who did used to play Commander back when combos were very common and was kind of the norm, because otherwise you're beating each other in the face with like a random 5/5s for 7 hours, like the games had to end. I do kind of miss the concept of what if there are ways to define more quote unquote fair combos. And what got me thinking about this, and the example I'll give real quick is I've been tweaking my Merfolk deck recently. And I love that in my Merfolk deck, I found out accidentally, I never got a chance to play it, that there's a combo in there that is a 3-piece combo. There's a card called Deeproot Pilgrimage that basically says whenever a Merfolk becomes tapped, you get a 1/1 Merfolk. And then so in other formats where if you have a Deeproot Pilgrimage and 2 Kira's Followers, which are just tap untappers, so if you tap it, you can tap it to untap something else. Effectively, if you get a Deeproot and 2 Kira's Followers, you can tap a Kira's Follower to untap the other one, create a Merfolk. Then you can untap the other one to tap, and you just tap each other back and forth to get infinite Merfolk. Effectively is what you do. You just get infinite 1/1s. And so in Commander, you can use cloning effects. So if you have any sort of clone, you can get a Kiora's Follower, a Deep Root Pilgrimage and then a clone to clone your Kyo's follower, and then just go back and forth tapping and untapping for a million merfolk. The reason I find it so interesting is the reality of playing that in a commander game is you have to have your enchantment out. Both of your tappers are summoning sick. So you have to play the thing, play your untappers, wait a turn cycle, tap, untap combo to get a million merfolk who are also summoning sick, wait a cycle, and then you get to attack. So it is effectively a 3-card, 3-turn combo if you don't have a massed haste enabler in your blue-green deck. And that's what got me thinking. It's like, I was like, maybe I cut it, but at the same time, if you have a combo that takes 3 cards and 3 full turn cycles to do, where is the boundary where combos can be casual again? And that's, again, this is going to be a whole different episode, but I wanted to bring it up in the context of brackets and game changers, because I know you're someone who mentioned that you used to be more of a combo player, and I just find it super interesting that I've always been so super anti-combo, but coming across this one and other ones I've seen, where is that boundary? Because I feel like there should be a place for janky, non-game winning combos. Like, it doesn't end the game on the spot in Commander. It feels like there should be a home, and I was just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and this is why I wanted to have that deeper discussion probably in another episode, and I might have alluded to it when we first started bringing this up, was that, like, now, because this is, like I said, bringing out those discussions of things that have existed in the format, that we can probably start, like, putting some either some measures on or some indicators on it. Like, as far as, like, I'm thinking like Johnny versus your Timmy versus your, those type of player profiles that we sometimes talked about, those player heuristics.
Yeah.
The Johnny is the combo player, right? And the Timmy is the person, like the strategist, trying to put something intricate together. Am I saying that right? Or they're like tinkering?
I actually don't remember all of the
names. It's things that we kind of don't really use anymore, but it was ways to kind of describe players and how they kind of interacted with the game. But to me, I feel like what we're saying is inherently some of those strategies are more powerful than the other. Could be like your combo player. Unless they're doing like strict 2-card, like I have 6 2-card combos in my deck, there's no way you're gonna beat me. Like, like sometimes like that player is definitely getting ahead of your jank combo player. Like, I'm trying to figure out myself, like, where is the line drawn? Like, what are the hierarchies? Like, how many steps and levels and shades of these types of players are there? Like, is it really a spectrum more than a category? Like you get what I'm saying? Like, there's multiple ways to do certain things. Like, you got your 2-card combo player versus your 5-card combo player. Like, they're not the same.
Yeah. No, and I think that I 1000% agree. I don't think it should be grouped together. I think combo more than anything is a spectrum of different levels of combo. And I find it interesting because I know one of the issues that I'll find with Commander if I go and play at LGS is there does seem to be some sort of like homogenous, like everyone's playing a value deck that values for 20 minutes. Every new commander will ramp you and draw you cards and cause you to take a 30-minute turn. And as a lot of decks move into this like never-ending value engine in lower power commander games, it's like, well, there are other ways to play this. Like, there's a whole extra world out there, whether it's combo or aggro and all these things. And obviously aggro gets frowned upon in certain ways if you kill people too fast and this and that. And combo is so interesting to me because, yes, if it's out of nowhere, I get it. But like, if they're slow, if your combo is one where you play it, the whole table sees it and you're like, yeah, I passed. You have a turn to deal with it. If it gets back to me, I probably win the game. Why is that a bad thing? And that was what I was thinking. Cause like, so aggro is a good example of in Commander, it may not work. Cause if you kill one person too fast, they're stuck watching for potentially 2 hours. That's awful. I get that. Nobody wants to waste their time. But it's like, if you're in that situation, you have your setup, guys, deal with it, or y'all are basically dead on my turn. I pass. That seems like a much more interesting play pattern than I think watching a value deck take a 30-minute turn. Yet one is way more accepted than the other. And I find that interesting.
Yeah, I get that. And we could be having, like, I don't know if we're talking, like, in my head, like, this could definitely be like separate conversations, or not saying we're talking past each other or whatnot, but it's like at the same time, it's like, I guess if I'm the type of player who has like 5 2-card combos on my deck, I guess that conversation is now saying that I'm probably putting you on notice that, like, hey, you can find your super combo-y deck, and you can find your super combo-y deck, and let's see who can combo the fastest. Sounds like we're just playing CEDH at that moment, but
yeah,
but like or the spirit of CEDH maybe. But yeah, I guess that's what the point of that conversation is just like just being more open or honest about what your deck is trying to do, and that's what we've been saying from the very beginning. Like do what you're gonna do. Like do what you're gonna do, but I guess at the same time, everyone has to have an understanding of if your thing is like gonna put you, just catapult you way ahead of us like super early, then maybe that's not the right matchup. If your thing is like a 5 combo setup and we're doing like 4 or 5 card combo setup as well, then that's an even playing field. So I guess it all just comes back to the discussion, and I keep saying like we're always going to get hung up on what are game changers and hung up on a game changer list, when it really at the end of the day we should just really just be trying to talk about, I guess, what your deck is trying to do, and from there you can evaluate what everyone's effective level or strategy and comparisons are, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And yeah, I think we'll end it here, but I think that's especially when we get Ken back, I think that's a whole topic for another episode where that I would love to talk more about, is really how people are playing winning, and those pregame discussions of like what those expectations are in a bit of a new lens. So yeah, we'll save that for when Ken's here so he can tell me I'm wrong. And we'll call it here. Yeah, we went way over, but I think this was a fun discussion. I know with game changers, ban list, we're under a month away, or about a month away from when a lot of this is going to go down. So it's going to be ripples and a big impact whenever those announcements are made. So I think it's something that people are invested in, because most times announcements and things, one card's banned, this and that. This is a chance for like a full shakeup, depending on what's announced. So it's going to be big regardless. But yeah, any closing thoughts, any call outs and shout outs we want to give before we call it?
No, I definitely did think of a lot of cards and some of those categories that we had brought up, like the color categories, but I'll save those for another day. Like Sensei's Divining Top. Sensei's Divining Top. All right, I said my piece.
I think, there we go. I'm still most upset about Seedborn Muse. Seedborn Muse is the card that's upset me the most this entire episode somehow, and I did not see that coming, considering I didn't write it down at all before. It just hit me, and now I'm upset about it. Okay, so
yeah, I thought you were going to bring it up.
All right, so I think that's going to close everything out here. I don't know if we had any closing thoughts, anything, any shout outs, any letters anyone wants to write to Kennethy. If you got anything before we close this one out.
No. Thank you for everyone for watching us. Please let us know what are some of the game changers that we discuss, or whether or not you agree with us or disagree as far as whether they should or should be game changers. I'm pretty sure you have your own game changer list. Let us know. We'll let you know if we disagree. Ken definitely will let you know if he disagrees. But also, if you want to pick up some of those awesome game changers, you can use our affiliate link with TCG Player. They got some awesome cards. You can help yourself out, help out your LGS. And also help out the channel as well. Make sure that you're looking fresh while you're playing fresh. That's why we got affiliated with Into the AM. Check out those awesome graphic tees, those graphic sweatpants. Everything is awesome with Into the AM. We love it. You love it. Check out the affiliate link. And last but not least, we also have affiliate with Heavy Play. This is some awesome deck box gear, awesome playmat gear. Awesome deck sleeve gear. Like, this definitely is for when you're in the rough and tumble, you're playing in a bar, playing at the game bar or whatever, and you're out with your friends. This will keep your stuff safe and clean and neat. So definitely pick you up some Heavy Play with our affiliate link. But we're going to get out of here because, yeah, this was a bit of a long one, but we're going to definitely try to condense it. We should probably do more of these and send Ken out of town more often. Let him see the world.
Let him explore, become the very best like no one ever was, and we can go on rants. I think this was just a built up. We've been wanting to go on rants and not told we're wrong within 30 seconds. So this felt good. It was like a venting session.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when Ken is a game changer. Everything warps around his criticism. All right, but
Ken is the game changer.
But yeah, thank you everyone. Please like and subscribe. Let us know what you think. But we will catch you on the next one. Peace out.